Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Racers Driving League for Season 18, Round 17 of the Championship. Welcome to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix here from the Baku City Circuit. I'm your host, Zach RC, bringing you all the action of what should be a very exciting race here this evening. And I'm bringing with me a special guest who those of you who've been here before might recognise. And after 41 races without him, he's making his heralded return. Welcome back to the commentary booth, Season 11 Drivers' Champion, Touch Me Pope. Pope, good evening. Welcome back. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very good, yes. Obviously, I have found out that even with all this lovely weather we're having in the UK, I'd much rather be inside. And that's why I'm here commentating the wonderful RDL. And it feels like it's a return, not just for me, but a lot of classic faces in RDL. We have one of my favourite all-time drivers, the Huggy Bear, driving with us in the Williams today, which I cannot wait. And Ericsson as well in the Sauber, who is heading onto the track right now.
Sauber making his re-entry to the league, returning for the first time in quite a while here. But I'm looking forward to seeing if these guys have still got it on the racetrack, and of course seeing if our current contenders of the modern day RDL have still got what it takes to challenge Grumio. Of course, 62 points clear in the standings after last week's race in Monza, which he of course dominated. Che finishing in second place in the end time. Actually, I could be wrong on that if I double check my thing here. This could be
I believe it was Imrie.
Third place.
After penalties and on the last track. Yeah, on the last corner, sorry. Getting that position.
Indeed.
And obviously Curtis does have a qualifying ban. That's why you are seeing him retire.
And that was my next point. So Pope already taken my line with me. I'm regretting my decision immediately. But pushing on then, we'll continue on with it, of course. Full qualifying. Pope, this is the first time you've been here for one of the full qualifying sessions in terms of this perspective. So as a driver on the racetrack, do you prefer it compared to the short quali?
Yeah, I felt like you could just settle in, especially like when I was racing, obviously last season and a little bit of this season. I was coming home quite late, so just have that little bit of extra practice. I felt pretty confident I get through Q1 most of the times. So yeah, it just does help. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, free practice for more or less in that first qualifying session for a number of drivers, especially ones up front. Of course, it's more of a struggle for the cars in the bottom half to try and push through into Q2. Of course, we've seen it catch out a number of good drivers over the course of the season. And of course, a number of cars who have found their fates very early on, of which I only see 3 of them today. So only 3 drivers as it stands getting knocked out, unless we see any late arrivals who will likely join those guys in the bottom 5 as well.
Yeah, still running on a fantastic numbered grid today. Obviously a good few reserves, but nonetheless we're still seeing a packed grid, and it's going to be fantastic around this Azerbaijan circuit. Obviously, Grumio, the reigning winner here, with Landlord, who I don't believe's here today, coming in P2, and then last season P3 was me. So I actually have a decent amount to say on this circuit.
Excellent. Well, that helps us all quite nicely. I mean, if you'd be so kind, Pope, as for the first time in a while, if I turn attention to, let's see, who's on our lap coming up towards the line. I'm meant to give it a minute here in terms of who's coming through. 10th Cannon. I've got my eye on 10th going through turn 16 now. Oh, she's got no wing. Never mind. Okay, we might have to cut to somebody else. In terms of timing this, Imrie's coming towards the line. Let's take us on our first lap if we can.
I would love to do that. My former teammate, Imrie, barreling towards turn 1. It's swinging that car in, missing. Do you want to clip that curb on turn 1? And turn 2, once again, this time you want to try and get all the curb. Miss curb in turn 1, all the curb in turn 2, and then another long straight. The circuit's prone to 90-degree corners. This first sector is all 90-degree corners. Going into turn 3, heavy braking zone. Clipping the inside, very nice. Bit squirrely on the exit, but not going to lose too much time. And turn 4 makes up sector 1. Imrie feeling pretty confident going into this race, he's been saying in the chat, so we'll see if this lap can show a little bit of promise. Turn 5 and 6, very easy to lose the back end there, and then you want to cut the entirety of turn 7. Easy to get a warning, but you need to make sure you cut that at most to get all the time. And the castle section, a very tough section there. Imrie not quite hooking it up, probably as much as he wants to, but still got loads of ERS in that reserve, so that'll come in handy going into that back straight. Sector 2 this is, obviously 13, 14 are both flat out. Turn 15, very easy to brush against a wall, get a little bit of front wing damage on that right hand side. And then end of sector 2 is turn 16, that corner just there, use all the exit road. and now it is all flat out. 17, 18, 19 and 20 are pretty much non-existent. Very good place to get in the slipstream and try and make a move going into turn 1. We're going to see a lot of overtaking on this back straight. We know how impressive the DRS and the DRS trades are on these games, so we'll see who can make the most of it. As Imri crosses the line, 38.6, a cracking lap there by the Haas of Imri.
Solid start, and Pope, you have not lost a touch of your commentary charm coming through here for the perfect first outing for Imri. Of course, first qualifying lap there as well. So 138.6 on the board for Imri. Of course, as you say, feeling quite confident. It's definitely showing on the racetrack. I've got my eye here on Obsessed Gamer coming out on his first outlap as Che outdoes Imri for the 138.4 down in third place. But Obsessed, of course, has made a change in terms of setup this week. He's got a new wheel, which I believe is from Moser. So looking forward to seeing how he settles into driving that wheel. Pope, in terms of what wheel were you using over the course of the season?
I don't want to talk about my wheel. No. I've been using Fanatec CSL Elite. That did give out on me during the season. However, it's been my trusty thing. I won my championship on this wheel. I've had it for over 5 years, so I feel like it was fair enough that it's giving a bit away. I am still looking at trying getting a little bit of fixing onto it, but I don't think much is going to happen. But a good wheel gives you a little bit of extra confidence. I moved from Thrustmaster to Fanatec and really gained a lot of time. So hopefully Obsessed will find that moving from, I believe, Logitech to Moser.
We've got a car there crashed as you were speaking. Alvar crashed the car in the middle sector, literally in the middle of the castle. So he's out of qualifying race. That's 2 cars now, Curtis and Alvar, who will make up those places. Excuse me, in the bottom 3, which means only 1 spot left to actually be lost on time, which is, I suppose, a good sign for everyone else around.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, obviously, it's not great for that one person who doesn't quite make it. However, everyone does feel a little bit more confident that they will get through and get into that second part of qualifying.
Of course, second part of qualifying is where things get particularly interesting. As, of course, a number of cars who may be fighting perhaps for a spot in Q3 have gone something we might not expect. We'll have to see if there's a Huggy and Ericsson how they get on, because obviously one of them at this rate will be guaranteed to go through to Q2 at the very least. So I'll have to see who that will be. But it wouldn't surprise me to see either one of those two in the bottom 3 come the end of this session. But as of right now, so it's the 2 Ferraris on top, first and third. Che in first with 1 minute 38.470, and down in third 139.148. And we'll keep an eye as well on Grumio, who's coming out on his outlap now. Of course, a number of victories this season already to his name for the reigning world champion, and looking poised at this stage to nab a 9th title this season. But of course, he's only 2 points off a race ban, Pope. So what effect could that have potentially on the standings should he get that ban? Of course, Che had an opportunity to try and close some points there.
Yeah, the race bans are like really piping up. I think this season I'm a steward as well, so I do have some form of a say on this now. Has been quite touch and go. A lot of little incidents which we don't want to see, but it is going to hopefully make this last part of the season a little bit cleaner, because people are going to be making sure they don't get that race ban. That's 26 points that you can lose there and then, and this obviously the gap is getting a little bit bigger in Grumio's favour, no doubt, but 26 point swing, that's going to knock a lot of confidence.
I'd definitely say so too, yeah. Sorry, I've switched something in my settings, make sure everything's all okay, no issues there. Just under 9 minutes to go in this session, and as of right now, only 10 cars can come through to set lap times. We've got a few more coming towards the line now. Cott getting a run of his teammate Websy, giving him a tow towards turn 1. That could pay off for Cott. Coming towards the line, 139.3 puts him into 4th place, just in front of EJ. Of course, EJ, one of the 2 Aston Martin cars. The Astons have come alive over the course of the last 5 or 6 races or so. It's been fantastic to see a team that was obviously struggling after the first few races, only scoring 4 points for a long time in this season, and now they're sitting 8th place, actually in front of McLaren, with about 8 more rounds to go, including today.
Yeah, Aston Martin's done fantastic. I think these 2 drivers are now settled in, obviously making various reserve appearances. The pair of them throughout the beginning of the season are now coming into their own as full-time drivers. Like I say, it's brilliant to see for the Aston Martin team. Aston Martin team that I adore. I love the Aston Martin team, especially because it is the team that I got my first championship with. So that makes me very happy.
Imri, Dan, JB all retiring early on from the session. Of course, the common sign, the commonly known ego retirement that we see all those top guys making during Q1. And perhaps we'll see those guys later on in Q2. Likely they are safe to go through. Of course, JB's had a number of Q1 eliminations this season, so obviously something to keep an eye out for. But I think he should definitely be safe today. But in terms of the cars around,
Grumio on a lap.
Go on.
Sorry, yeah, I've just seen Grumio on a lap. He's really dragging that car around. That car is not looking the happiest around this circuit. Maybe something to keep an eye on during this race. That did not look healthy.
Let's keep an eye on it over the course of the rest of the second sector. Of course, the third one too is makes his way over the curb at turn 15. One of the Astons putting over to the right-hand side. But is that's AT? Or I think he's looking to try and get a toe of some kind to start his lap off. Of course, we've seen these guys help each other out a number of times. Sorry, no, AT backing off. You might have heard me. Never mind. But Grumio coming through turns 18 and 19 now. As you said, practically non-existent in terms of straight line speed. No real impact on performance there. And through turn 20 and charging up towards the line. Of course, a maximum speed you can get. I was on F123 earlier today recording Grumio, and I got to about 215 miles an hour down this main straight. Grumio 138.5, so Che the faster car right now, so a bit of work to do, but still Grumio, even as you say, Pope, it looked quite uncomfortable over the course of that lap. He's still in there with a very solid time, and onto the front row. Obviously, this was short qualifying.
Yes, undoubtedly. I mean, the pace is there, and I think you've still got another 3/10 minimum there. For Grumio, but someone I've just picked up on is Ethan in P8. This obviously with a couple of reserves driving, someone like Ethan, who is always on that borderline of getting points, is in an absolutely fantastic place to carry the Sauber team at the current moment, because obviously there's no PJ.
Ah, yes.
So really crucial time for Ethan to get some points.
And of course, Kick Sauber sitting P5 in the Constructors' Championship. Of course, a very close scrap between Sauber, Alpine, and Red Bull. If I double check the points here on my screen on my right here, Sauber and Alpine actually tied in terms of points, 81 each, and Red Bull just 2 points back with 79. Now both 10th and Courtney Goblin are in the race today. JB and Curtis both in the race as well. Of course, obviously Curtis with a quali ban, so work to be done there. But I'll keep my eye as well on. I said an outside chance. 18 EJ, the Aston Martin, they're on 34 points. But given how good they've been the last 2 weeks, and there's still 8 more races to go, I'd say there's every chance they can try and join that fight as well, provided things go okay for them.
Oh, undoubtedly so, and it's going to be a lot easier as well if you're going to get a toe off a different team, as we see AT getting that toe off Grumio heading towards the line. Very interesting tactics. Very interesting tactics.
Up to the line for AT. P5 for the Aston Martin, and just over 2/10 faster than his teammate EJ, so fantastic lap there from AT, and obviously aided by Grumio's toe towards the end of it. So obviously, I'm not sure exactly how much time they gained from that, but obviously there's a large chunk of it that comes through from that slipstream alone. So keep an eye out for that over the course, and even of course the DRS trains will be absolute murder at circuits such as this one, and I imagine that Grumio will try and do what he did last week and just try and roll off into the sunset.
Yeah, and obviously the unfortunate thing for Grumio is he's got no teammate to help where Che does. And obviously Imri's there, can't forget Imri, but definitely looking at that team play between the Ferraris. And the only thing that Dan needs to watch out for is he's also 2 points away from a race ban. So it could be treacherous times for both Grumio and Dan. They've got to keep it clean this race.
Yeah, but practically appears that they're walking on eggshells over the course of the next few rounds or so. Obviously, a circuit such as this one, where collisions are incredibly easy to see, then we could see one of those guys leaving this week with a ban for the next round, which is Singapore, to my memory.
Fantastic track is Singapore. Yeah, I absolutely love that circuit, and it will be exciting. But yeah, undoubtedly so. I mean, this is the point of Q1 where obviously not much is going on, so we do get to talk about the next coming races and how things will affect, which is always nice. But yeah, as you said, you don't want a qualifying ban around, you don't want a race ban around Singapore, because that is a race where you do see a lot of drivers DNF because of the hard nature of the circuit. So it will be interesting to see if they back it off a little bit this race to make sure they can score good points next week.
Without a doubt, and of course, I even think to this race as sort of a demolition derby of sorts at times. Think back to season 16, season 16? Season 15, I believe, where Grumio obviously attempted that. We lost a number of cars. Grumio attempted the late move on car someone into turn 1, ran him out the race. Only about 5 or 6 finishes, and Websey came through to win. And obviously that kick-started his ambitions towards finishing second place in the championship. And of course, season 16 was quite a chaotic race in itself. Of course, the infamous collision between Imri and Grumio on that safety car race start from there. But yes, I mean, it was slightly more tame last season, but this circuit always has the ability to stir up chaos, as does Singapore, as does short street circuits in general. And obviously, we've still got, I think this is actually the last street circuit of the season next week. Actually, no, sorry, scrap that, because we still have Vegas coming up towards the end of the season as well. So, plenty of drama awaiting the next few months or so.
Yeah, Vegas as well. Still pretty new to a lot of people, so it will be interesting to see that.
Of course, two of the last 8 events being the 100% races, so Mexico and then Abu Dhabi. Whether that changes though, in terms of the reverse grid finale, because I imagine we'll get the vote out in a few weeks time over deciding which track will host the finale. Brazil is often the popular choice, so we could be seeing 71 laps around Interlagos. But of course, Abu Dhabi is also there because that held the finale in season 16 almost a year ago. And I mean, you never know. Someone could turn up and say, you know what, let's have Vegas as the last round. Wouldn't that be chaotic?
That'd be different. It would be, and I would not be opposed.
Have to look into that in terms of when the vote drops. But for now, though, we've got, in terms of tonight's race, we've got just over a minute to go in qualifying. As of right now, I'm thinking Courtney Goldman might be the car going out at this stage because he's the only car yet set at lap time. But as I say that, he's coming up towards the line to start what likely will be his final effort. So we'll see what he's got in the tank. Of course, we've seen him do this later on in the session. In terms of our reserves tonight, Ericsson there in P12, Huggy P15, HB Cook in P10 right now. So of course he's looking at an outside shot potentially for a Q3 appearance. He's been fantastic his first couple of races here. Perhaps unfortunate to not have results go his way this early on, but of course Zandvoort, Monza are 2 difficult acts to follow one after the other. And of course Azerbaijan is no different. So we'll see where about he emerges in terms of whether he can finish it in what will be a point score in place. Obviously no points going his way because as he's a reserve, so no points being scored. But being able to put the car in the top 10 as a reserve, I'd say is very impressive indeed.
Oh, definitely, especially on the quality of this grid, it is very tough to break that top 10, no doubt. And I'm just looking at here, Huggy Bear is got no front wing on that Williams, so right now on the cusp. If Courtney Goblin does get better than a 142.3, he will be through. So it's just about keeping clean now for the Red Bull of Courtney.
He's going for it. This could be tough. We'll see exactly what these guys are like in store. 35.4 for Courtney in the first sector. Coming towards the end of the second sector, it is a 1 minute 15.7. So it's going to be very tight here coming top towards the line. Obviously, Huggy could be safe regardless because if Courtney doesn't go fast enough, then Huggy could be through now without that sort of risk. But obviously, if both Courtney and Huggy improve, then that would be the onus on Red J with a 1 minute 40.5 under his name. So we'll see exactly what these guys have got coming up towards the line. Courtney making his way through towards the checkered flag to end qualifying off. Be 1 minute 44 and 140.6. And that could put Huggy Bear out. He's 1.3 down in the first sector. I think it's safe to say that Huggy Bear is out. Alongside, obviously, Kirsten Alba.
Well, yeah, I would probably suggest so, especially because how much downforce you need in this second sector and the end of the first one. But we saw it, I believe, at Las Vegas on the F123 game where people would purposely get damage on their front wing so their top speed would increase. It was a very weird strategy, I do have to admit, but maybe it works for Huggy. We'll have to see.
I mean, we've seen Grumio run over. Oh, and there he goes. Oh. Off at the barrier at turn 15, and that'll bring about Huggy's qualifying to a close. So there goes 10th Cannon going past. 10th P5 there in the first run. Fantastic stuff there. Cop P7, Ethan there, P10. So good start for him. Red J will be going through to Q2. Both Mercedes cars will get through to Q2. Of course, those guys bottom of the standings now, thanks to Aston Martin's recent resurgence. But tough for Huggy Bear, but work to be done over the course of the Grand Prix. Of course, we'll see where he stands on that. And Courtney Goblin with a 1 minute 40.6 narrowly squeezes through. In terms of fastest time, it's Che fastest, 1 minute 38.4. Grumio second, 138.5. Imri third, 138.6. And then Dan a half second off of Imri there in fourth place. And 10th to 10th off in P5. But AT6, Cot 7th, EJ8. I'm sorry. Okay, I've lost all track, but that'll do. Do you know what? I'm waiting for the opportunity for a long time, and there it is. Courtney Goblin there, narrowly squeezing through into Q2. I'll go through the rest of the order in terms of who makes it into the second part of qualifying, provided I get it on my screen if I'm lucky, because we all know they stay F124 at this point in terms of whether it allows me to see results. I don't think it will, to be honest. I think this could be all we get, which is gutting. But Pope, give me your thoughts there on that qualifying session.
Yeah, very, very good. Showing from the Ferrari and good teamwork as well to get their laps in. But there is quite, as you said, a nearly 7/10 gap between the Ferrari. So quite a big pace differential. However, the DRS should negate that. And all Che's got to do now to get that points tally a little bit closer is keep it slick as Mobile 1 keeps your engines.
Haha, excellent. Right. And now the product placement is done, we can get into Q2. 15 cars left in the running, and we'll see which of those 15 will go through to Q3 as we reduce that number to 10 in 15 minutes' time. It should be very entertaining. Of course, number of teams getting both their cars into Q2. So looking forward to seeing what this session has to offer. In terms of the cars that got both their... I've done it twice. In terms of the teams that got both their cars in, so Kick Sauber, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Ferrari and Red Bull. So those guys all having both their cars through, and then Haas, Haas, Alpine, then RB, McLaren, and then Williams. So those are your 15 cars going through, and we'll see which one of them goes through to Q3 to fight pole position. That was very convoluted, and I wasted my time saying it.
No, I mean, we know who's through now, which is exciting.
Okay, so we'll push on then to Q2. Imri, as always, the first car out onto the racetrack. Of course, Imri, as you say, looking quite confident in terms of performance tonight, but obviously he had to take a win this season, and obviously winless last season. He has actually managed to take a flag on this game in terms of being in P1 once. So, Pope, do you reckon that duck breaks for the end of the season? Because he's running out of time, he's running out of chances.
Yeah, we're really barreling towards the end of the season, and I think it's going to be hard. Like, there's no doubt. I think your chances of wins, I can say this as Imri's former teammate as well. It's tracks. I think Singapore is probably Imri's best next chance. He's very strong at street circuits, as shown here. He's quick at Monaco. So I feel like it is running out of time, and it's so hard, especially when you are kind of fighting one-handed against teams. Not that Matthew's a fantastic driver, but obviously today, especially, he's not here. But Ferrari and RB have just such good interplay that they've worked on for 2 seasons now. Him and Matthew are just getting to know each other as teammates, so I think that really does play a part in having a bit of confidence going into the races.
Well, here he comes now for a start of his first full lap in Q2, and of course, as you say, fighting one-handed against, and also the RBs as well, because obviously while Lando isn't here for tonight's race, or at least right now, because obviously we could see him arrive later on and start at the back of the field. It's still a tough ask battling against Grumio, because 8-time RDL champion, and it's a guy you struggle. You still got to struggle to stay on pace with, let alone get in front of him. So when you do, it's quite an achievement. But obviously having Grumio about making life a bit more difficult for the Ferraris, for Imri, for example. Obviously for you for a little bit, but obviously you're one of the drivers who have found their way around Grumio and managed to win a championship. So what does it take to beat that guy? I must know.
He didn't really race in my season, so I got lucky. No, Grumio is a weird driver to kind of race against. Not in a bad way, obviously. But in terms of, he's very on the edge. Obviously, people who have access to the stewards report see the name prop up a few times, but he just knows how to get away with being on the edge. Obviously, this season, he's been punished. I think he's just gone a little bit further, because I think the challenge of the 2 Ferraris has pushed him the most I've seen in a very long time, and that's reflected in the stewards report and his penalty points. But that is what I'd probably say. He's just so hard because he's always on the edge, and it's just kind of under-driving behind him. Oh my lord, what the hell is going on?
What's happening? Where?
Grumio is just pirouetted. Going, I believe, to turn 17 or turn 16. He's just done a full pirouette.
Oh, you kidding me? I missed it.
Not too. I've got a recording of that one, because that did throw up a few questions from me.
Okay, well, I'll have to have a look at that later on, but Imri first over the line, 1:38.1 on the board, so a solid start to qualify once again. I think that was faster than his Q1 time, wasn't it?
Yes, by, I believe, 4/10.
So we'll see what Grumio has in the tank this time around. Let's hope he doesn't do the same thing as he allegedly just did a few moments ago through turn 16. But of all the sights, it is a rare sight to see Grumio just doing even make a mistake while just doing something silly like that. So I'm sad that I don't know. I'm quite upset that I missed that. To be fair.
I mean, it was quite something. It was quite something. But looking towards the actual times and not an RB's pirouette, Ethan with a 140 dead, a good lap there. I believe, obviously, that was slower, sorry, than his Q1 time. So maybe on worn tyres.
Bit of work to be done there, we'll see, because obviously we'll see a lot of drivers starting Q2 on their old softs from Q1, then transitioning onto their fresh set. EJ's coming towards the line now. He's in P8 right now, no time on the board. HB Cook goes second fastest, 139.6, so sort of bridging the gap between Imri and Ethan. EJ towards the line, been fantastic in this first race as full-time driver. EJ 139.3, fourth place there, in behind the two Ferraris, and of course Imri.
Yeah, great laps there by the Ferraris, and I would be pretty confident to say that they are on the worn tyres as well. So an improvement though from Dan by a couple tenths. There's a yellow flag, I believe that is Dan going slowly, taking the exit road. Nothing to really worry too much about. One driver that did well in Q1 is JB. I believe P8, P9 in Q1.
Yep.
Someone who has struggled a little bit to find the qualifying pace. So, looking all right here so far, and someone who will be looking for some points going into this race. And one of two drivers to not have a penalty point on the license for this season.
Who is the other one, can I ask?
It's Alvar.
And Alvar is also here, but of course crashed out on his first lap, so we'll start towards the back of the race. So we have to keep an eye out for that over the course of the season. Have we got anyone who has finished every single race of the season or has been classified? Because I know we look for that over the course of the season. So I double check. I mean,
I think it might be JB.
It is, yes. Like I'm seeing it here. JB has finished every single race. It looks like Grumio's. Okay, no, Grumio hasn't finished every single race. Che hasn't. Dan. Okay, right. So I'm looking at it. It looks
Dan
as though
hasn't. I know he hasn't.
It looks as though JB is one of the very few who has done every single race and finished every single race. I mean, it's rare we see JB go out.
I mean, he's been racing in this league since it's come around, obviously, as the owner, and the experience really shows from JB. Might not be the fastest on the day, but is able to extract pace at times, and is really competitive on certain tracks when hooked up.
I have to agree, but obviously that there is talk of the past of race victories of JB's that I've never seen. Unfortunately, I've been here since the last race of season 11. All I want to see before, if I ever choose to leave, I will not go until I see JB win one RDL race. So that's what it's going to take to get me out of this commentary box. JB, I need to see you win just once, and then I'll be comfortable with calling it a day when I do choose to ever retire from RDL commentary.
Well, if that's the thing of having to see JB, there's a crash from Obsessed Gamer.
Oh,
I'm not too sure what's happened here. That looks like the exit of the pit lane. He has just finished the lap, hopefully on Red J. Oh, he's gone.
Ah, man.
Any thing of the circuit? I'm not too sure. We'll ask Obsessed, hopefully, to try and describe the incident to us. But yeah, it's unfortunate for Obsessed, because obviously new wheel and is out. Might not be out just yet. Obviously, that's a decent looking time, but I'm not too sure why he's in P10 because of it. That's confused me a little.
Well, it should be in P8 as of right now, because he's gone faster than both HB Cook and Ethan, so work to be something to keep an eye out for there. But so, I mean, that's four cars right now who are already slower than him as it stands. And Ericsson, JB's coming towards the line, and of course got the 10th cannon. Yes, at lap times. Here comes JB towards the line. JB 139.3. That's P8 on the board for him. And that is obviously faster than Obsessed Gamer's time. So that put Obsessed down to P9 as it stands. And of course, Ericsson and 10th Cannon both yet to leave the pits on their first runs. Imri still fast, 138.172. Faster by a good few tenths. And Grumio there, 138.5. So work to be done for the reigning champion, but he's there in front of, crucially, Che, his championship opponent. Well, I say championship opponent, the gap is quite large at this stage, so you have to keep an eye out for that. Obsessed gives the simple terms, wheel got eaten. Okay, I'm assuming he needs his tyre, because I'm assuming that his new motor wheel is in perfect condition. So let's keep an eye out in terms of...
I bloody hope so, for a sake. I really hope so. I don't want any of my pain to go on anywhere else, I'm sure. I'm not sure why Imri's out, to be honest. We do see this from Imri. He does like to make the most of the track time in the qualifying sessions. I'm quite the opposite. I'd rather eat a kebab in the pit box if I know I'm going to get through. And with that cracking lap time of 1:38.1, I'm pretty certain he will. But going back to what you were saying about if JB ever wins, you'll leave. Well, yeah, happy to call your retirement on RDL. I feel like you'll be here forever, if that's your deal. No offense, JB. He knows I like him really.
You need more faith in JB, I think, personally, bud.
I mean, with that lap time of P8, I mean, it could happen today. You never know. He's not that far off EJ. Not that far off P5, really. This is going to be looking like a good race here for JB.
And Q3, I think in particular, will be very, very exciting in terms of pace between the 10 guys who seem to be the fastest on the circuit here. Keeping an eye on a few cars. It's at lap times up to 10th now on the racetrack. So she's looking... Obviously, she's been strong in qualifying over the course. Or at least she was incredibly strong at the very start of her RDL career. I'd say it sort of petered out a little bit. She... okay, on my screen, she's weaving, but she's going back and forth and towards into the barriers. So the 1 bar connection is definitely proving constantly as I'm seeing what she's doing here. And I'm assuming that's not how she's driving, because if she was, she'd be in the barriers 10 minutes ago. But I assume once she gets to the tyres, the temperature should go normal. Yes, there we go. So that's all okay on my end now. I'm not actually sure what's going on there. I think only got 1 bar connection on the EA front. But Imri coming through. No actually on a time lap except for Ethan right now. That'll change in a few seconds. Ethan towards the line puts him into P9, 139.434. As Imri comes through, starting another lap.
And that's an official P9 as well.
So Obsessed Gamer now right on the mark there, and if 10th improves, then that will see Obsessed Gamer be one of the first of the 5 cars out in the qualifying. Obviously a tough one to take. Obsessed got a bit more word on Obsessed Crash. He uses a little bit too much track on corner exit, so I'm thinking he may have hit that bit of barrier that sort of sticks out a bit, the exit at turn 1, because I've done that before. I did that in my last.
Yeah, I've done that myself. Yeah, it's not great fun. That turn 1 at Azerbaijan is a killer, to be quite frank. So I'm not quite surprised off that. As looking at Imri, I think Tim's going to get a bit of a tow here off Imri. I'm not too sure if it's scheduled in or not between the two people that I do know are good friends. But Tim, like you said, has done fantastic, especially in that early part of her RDL career. But like you said, pleated. P5 though in Q1. Hopefully that mark of really good qualifying comes back.
We'll have to wait and see what she's got lined up for the rest of this lap, and we'll see if there is a tow cam to her and Imri. Then we'll have to wait and see what the game plan is. But I think Imri's a bit too far in front to have any effect. But keep an eye on the Sal behind. That'll be Ethan there, who might get some level of slipstream. But I think he is as far back from 10th as 10th is from Imri. So I shouldn't think we see anything in terms of any improvements on that front. Obsessed Gamer disconnects from the session, but hopefully he'll get himself rejoined in time. And will 10th take him out of Q2 potentially? She comes up towards the line now. Actually, Imri is lifting, so there could be a potential last second run for 10th towards the line to make a battle improvement. Looking at 138 here, 138.9 enough for 4th place on the board. So 10th, well and truly, I'll say definitely almost safe in Q3 as she runs wide at turn 1. That will knock Obsessed out, unfortunately. So Obsessed, the first of 5 cars going out as of right now. HB Cook, Red J, Courtney Goldwyn and Ericsson will be joining him, but they're still just over a minute and a half to go.
Yeah, a lot of drivers going on for out laps, and before really we get the big storm of drivers making improvements, I do have to say my personal thoughts on this as, Red J in the wall at the castle section and is out, unfortunately. So both Mercedes out in Q2 on the day where they could really be in a good shout for points. Not great for them. Hopefully they'll be able to recover in the race, but what I was going to say was I am not a big fan of this inter-team play. I do have to admit it's not the most enjoyable thing to see. However, if it makes the grid closer, then who are we to complain in this commentary box and the viewers at home? I just want to see some exciting racing.
Me too. I think I have to agree. I mean, it definitely makes dynamics a lot more interesting as EJ comes to the line. P4 for Aston Martin. Whether he got a tow, because I know that. I mean, Aston Martin are quite well hooked up in terms of connections at the front of the grid, because EJ was always follows the Ferraris and AT will always get a run off Grimmy or Landlord. So those two are in quite good stead with the leaders, but obviously their natural pace in itself has brought them higher up the order in the constructors regardless. So we'll see in terms of how high those guys both get. EJ P4, AT P7, both of them except for Q3 as it stands right now. Cotton P8, JB P9, and Ethan currently the last car going through, but HB Cook still on the circuit. Cotton Goblin still out there. And Ericsson might try to take a Q3 appearance as well.
Yeah, HB Cork on their own on this circuit, making sure they get the clearest amount of air, and hopefully this will pay dividends for Cork. Obviously, brand new to the league, I believe third race, perhaps maybe even only second race. I'm not too sure. It's brand new into this league, and has already made a mark, as you said. Unfortunately, the results in the race may have not gone their way, but having a look, as you see, as JB retires in P9, but now P10 as HB Cook does take P8. Oh, it's close for JB.
Ericsson is coming through as well. He's 117.4 in the second sector, so I'm wondering, perhaps, I'm not sure this lap will be it pace-wise. We're going up towards the line. He might get a tow of that Williams in front. That's the Williams of Cock charging all the line. He's in P9 right now. Looks like he's safe himself. Cock across the line, goes P7. So JB still safe for now, but only one car can knock JB out. And that is Cottony Goblin, who found himself 3 tenths down in Sector 1. Work to be done for Cottony, but if he can nail this one, that could be enough to put JB out and put Cottony into Q3 for, I think, the first time maybe ever. I'm not even sure if he's made Q3 before, in terms since full qualifying came into the picture.
Yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic way through the castle section there by Cottony. That Red Bull looks so planted. I am thoroughly impressed by that, but...
He's 4 tenths up.
Everything alright?
No, everything's okay, but he's 4 tenths up now, so he gained a lot in that second sector. That car section must have worked quite nicely for him. But of course, he needs a lot more than that. He needs about 1.5 seconds in order to get through. Imrie goes faster again, 1:37.895. First 37 we've seen all night. And Connie Goldman comes towards the line. Has he got enough to get himself into Q3? Is JB safe? P14 for Connie. JB goes through to Q3.
Yeah, 2 for 0 there from JB, but did well to get it through. And yeah, just see the clip of Obsessed Gamers incident, and you were right, it was the outside barrier clipping that tyre off. But the Mercedes is still in a good position, 12 and 13. Obviously, Ethan in P11 heading out, Cottony in P14, and Ericsson in P15 all heading out. I think Imrie was the only person to use 2 sets of new tyres. I could be wrong, but I do believe it was 2 sets of new tyres. So, interesting to see if that will make any impact in the race.
6 cents up, but none to sniff about. Whether he's got a set left for Q3, I'd hope so. But it could be a very, very exciting Q3. It's what I'm looking forward to. It should be everything on the line in this session, and we'll see who's got what it takes to take pole position for that very, very short run down to the first corner. In terms of teams who've got both their cars into Q3, which I nailed the phrase this time around, we'll double check that in a second. So both Aston Martins, both Ferraris, and that's it, truthfully, in terms of teams with 2 cars in the session. Williams have 1 car, RB with 1 car, McLaren with 1, Alpine with 1, Haas with 1, and Red Bull with 1. So yeah, so I think that's 8 teams who've got who've got at least 1 car into Q3, which just shows you how competitive this league is, especially at this stage of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I always love driving this part of the season. For me, last season it did die off a little bit. Obviously, I'm very strong in that middle point of the season. It's where my strongest tracks are. However, everyone's racing for them final few points, and it really does show. You do get some of the boldest overtaking, let's say, as we can see the McLaren of HB Cook heading onto the circuit, the first person to tackle the circuit in Q3.
And of course, another reserve making Q3 as well. Because remember when EJ and I forget who, when EJ and Matthew were both reserves, both rookies. They made Q3 as reserves in Austria, and that was only what? If I actually double check my thinking, that was only that was 6 rounds ago we saw them doing that, and now those guys are fully fledged drivers, and both of them have managed to score. Matthew, of course, has scored in all 3 of the races he's taken part in. EJ has scored in 2 of his. Of course, P5 last time out, so definitely nothing to sniff out there. Both those guys, between them, have scored a total of 40 points within these first few rounds of their full-time career. So the RDL are always bringing through fantastic reserve drivers, and hopefully HP Cook will be no different.
I think it is a trend. I mean, I've done it myself. I've won races as a reserve on multiple occasions. I don't know. I feel like if you're a reserve at RDL, you are just fantastic. And like you said, a lot of drivers have come through. I mean, we've had the similar grid now for the past few seasons, but those who take a step from reserve to full-time have been absolutely outstanding, and it shows that backlog and that back catalogue of talent really just stick through.
And I always enjoy when sometimes those new drivers come in to sort of disrupt teammate pairings that have been there for a few seasons, of course. No one's really been able to top Grimio and Landlord over the course of the last couple of years, but we've always had a number of drivers be able to challenge them. Of course, Fan and BJ, that was always a long-time pairing. JB and Lucky, they were together for quite a few seasons. Curtis and... was it Curtis and Ethan, was it? Sorry? Of my last few seasons? Was it Curtis and PJ? Sorry. I could be wrong.
Ethan and PJ have been around for ages.
It yes.
Used to be Curtis and TJ, Mr. TJ, for a very long time. And they were a cracking duo, I do have to say. And I will always say myself and Tinky Winky winning that Season 11 Constructors Championship really did put a spin on things in that season.
I mean, I think I have to agree, despite only seeing just the one race that campaign, of course. A number of drivers who have been in the same pairing for a couple of seasons, as obviously Grimmy and Landle, the obvious choice. Websy and Cop, I think this is their second or third season together, I want to say. Who else have we got on the grid? I mean, the majority of the pair is actually quite new in terms of this season, because of course, I think there was 8 teams who changed their lineups in some way, in the off season between seasons 17 and 18. So a lot of change this time around, but of course we've seen a lot of them settling quite nicely. Of course, Alvar and Ben, that's always been quite a nice pairing. Obsessed and Red J, those two are perhaps the most popular pairing in the paddock. I mean, they're the underdogs. Everyone wants them, those guys to succeed and score points. And on those days that we do get to see them scoring points, it's always a very enjoyable day and universally appreciated, has to be said.
Oh, no doubt. But yeah, I think 3 teams kept the same. 2 teams, sorry, kept the same, and that was Landlord and the Grumio and myself and Imri.
That was
going
it.
into
Yes.
Season as Cook gets a 1:39.4, a cracking lap, very similar to that Q1 time, and there, wow.
Okay.
Wow, that
Benchmark
is similar paces Imri. And obviously Imri on worn tyres, I presume, this lap, with 38.0. The track is improving, and Grumio has just sent a benchmark out for Q3. That is why you save as many tyres, because you can have 2 shots now on 2 fresh tyres and still have another pair of soft tyres to going into the race. So tactical choices made by that RB team.
I'll have to wait and see if they pay dividends over the course of the rest of Q3 and obviously the Grand Prix itself. 26 laps incoming in about 15-20 minutes time, so it should be a very, very enjoyable race indeed. The track looking it almost looks as if it's getting towards late evening in Azerbaijan with the clouds over the circuit. It's the first time I've ever seen that in terms of this sort of time of day in Baku, because normally I'm used to seeing it at Grand Prix time and it being slightly lighter on the circuit, but still cloudy. But it's just a weird sort of musing about the weather in Azerbaijan, which of course I haven't seen myself in real life. But continue on. Under 7 minutes to go in Q3, and my ramblings are finished. But as of right now, 7 cars at lap times. Oh, JB's crashed it at turn 2.
Oh, such a shame for JB. Gets into Q3 and unfortunately is just not able to ignite it with some flint and steel. That is it's a shame, absolute shame. But I'm sure JB's not going to sniff too much at a P10 starting position. Not
at all. I'd say, a top 10 start given some of the struggles he's had in qualifying over the last month or so. I'd say that's definitely one to keep an eye out for. Grimio coming towards the line on the second lap, giving AT a tow. AT P5 the line, so just in front of his teammate about 6 tenths or so. So it's an all Aston Martin third row, all Ferrari on the second row, and again it's Imri and Grimio currently on row 1 together. And it's HB Cook with 10th Cannon, Cop P9, last car to come through set time, and JB will start alongside whoever finishes in P9 in qualifying. So here comes Cop towards the line to finish things off. Will he actually get up towards the line, or I thought for a second he was going to pit, but isn't going to do it though. Coming towards the flag now, 1:38.5 P6. So separating the two Aston Martins.
Yeah, AT riding on the coattails of Grumio like a chicken jockey. That was a huge amount of toe there acquired, and that is obviously a fantastic position for that Aston Martin to be in. And caught splitting the two Aston Martins, caught on his own really at this current moment. Obviously, Huggy Bear, teammate for today, out in Q1, unfortunately. Has a lot to do, and it's going to be a real tough challenge. But I don't think P6 is a bad position to be. I came third from P5 last season, so anything could happen.
I can't believe you actually managed to get my Flint Steel and Chicken Jockey in there. For the love of God. Okay, right. Do you know what?
Well, you know.
That I have missed. I'll say that. That I have missed.
I was going to say, you've invited me back. And I've got to add a bit of Pope flair to it all, and that's just a start. This is never gonna stop. I can assure you of that. 3, that's a hat trick. Let's go.
Fair enough. Okay, right. So we'll continue on then after Pope's remarkable antics as always in qualifying. Just sort of spicing things up a bit more. But okay, I want to mind myself. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I'm not sure it's overly as funny. But well, the majority of the cars in the pit lane now. I think I want to ask you because obviously we're getting now towards the point where F1 we're closing on F1 25. Obviously, new season of racing there, and on a new games. And obviously, as always, as you see with that, the first season on a new game is always exciting in the sense that perhaps we might see a new contender who perhaps wasn't as fast in F1 24 get pace in F1 25. I know Imri has been speaking. I spoke to Imri recently. He told me he felt quite confident with the beta. So if that stays how it is there, then he could be a lot faster potentially next season. As he's quite fast as it is, but potentially we've said it before in times of the past where some games suit certain drivers and other games don't, because the handling model always changes over the course of the year. So I mean, in terms of approaching a new game, what's your stance on that? How would you normally approach it?
Wing it. No. In all seriousness, I don't take anything from the beta. I played F1 22 beta, I think it was, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. And we got on that game, and it was absolutely horrific. We saw it with this game. The beta felt completely different to how it was. The game changes so much. I've lost a lot of confidence myself in how the game runs, but looking at it from a driver perspective, we're still going to race, we're still going to host this incredible league. So how can you adapt to the different driving styles? I mean, this year was so different compared to previous years. Probably the most dramatic change since F1 22 with the driving style, and we've seen Grumio obviously kind of adapt to it the best. It's been pretty similar, but I think I can't say this with wholehearted truth, but it might not be going on to the old gen consoles.
No,
so
it's not.
maybe that plays a... Is that confirmed? Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that might have a better stance of people who... I don't know. It's hard to say. I just think you've got to go in and practice as much as possible. But I don't know. I feel like with it not going to old gen, I think there will be big tweaks once again to the handling model.
I'll have to wait and see. And can I just point out, I'm not too indifferent against F1 22's handling model, given the recent videos on the channel over the course of the last few weeks. I know you don't watch Ultimate Career too much, but I mean, I've been alright with it. But F1 23 has been quite difficult to get myself used to again, because the cars feel so much more snappy on the rear end. But regardless, we'll carry on though, keeping on F1 24, and everyone is on the circuit now, getting ready for final runs. And Imri is coming through, starting what will likely be his last lap. Let's set to 1:36, which I'm doubting we'll see him do. But we'll see in terms of how fresh the how fresh his tyres. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought some go off into the barriers there at turn 2, but he's all okay though. That's just me being a bit buggy here over on my side of the screen. So coming up towards the end of the first sector will be the entry to turn 5. We'll see what Imri's got in the bag this time. He needs about a quarter of a second, 3/10 of improvement to try and challenge Grumio, and even so, we could see Grumio pull out a lap like a 1:36 or something, because you never know Grumio really. But Imri he's down by 500ths, and what Aston Martin is slow here. That is AT, who looks to have backed off a little bit as that number of cars go. Oh, he's got no front wing. Okay, so he's crashed it, I think, going into turn 5. But luckily, he's far and away clear of Imri's way, so that won't be any risk there. As Imri comes into the caster section. HP Cook, 10th Cannon, Dan, Che, starting their last laps. EJ in behind those guys. Only Cot, AT, and Grumio get to come through. I think Grumio should make it going into the last part of the circuit here. He's going through sector 3 now. HB Cook's retired. I think he may have just been the lap off and called it a day, I think. Hopefully that's going to impact the cars coming around those Ferraris. Imri, half second up, or 4.5 tenths up to be exact. But we'll see what he's got in this last sector. Half second could be enough to try and nab pole from Grumio here. He's coming through towards turn 20. Have you got anyone in particular?
No, I'm just been mesmerised by Imri's lap, and that castle section was unbelievable on that. Well, should get provisional pole as he crosses the line with a 1:37.6. The second car, first car to cross over the line, I believe.
Yep.
And that is, that's put on Grumio, and this is where we're going to see now at the end of sector 1. Once he crosses, where is Grumio stacked up? It has got so dark, as you were making mention to. And is that going to cool down the track just to make it a little bit better for these soft tyres to grip up? We'll have to see.
Grumio down by 0.5 tenth in the first sector. Switch back to it in a moment, but they've got 2 Ferraris coming through with EJ in tow behind them. EJ P8 right now, 10th cannon across the lines, goes 7th. Cot is going through turn number 7 now, and he's got Grumio not too far in front going through the castle section himself. Here comes the 2 Ferraris, though, up towards the line. Che getting a tow from Dan here in the red change of formation between those 2 cars. Coming up towards the line, can Che try and nab pole? It hasn't been fast today. Coming up towards the line, though, 1:37.634. So Che goes fastest by 9 thousandths. Dan P4, EJ P7. Grumio coming through towards the second sector now. He's quarter for second up. This could be it for Grumio. Just over the curves there.
Oh my lord, this is ridiculous.
As the sky swells around them, Grumio coming charging towards turn 20 for the last time. He'll be the second to last car to come through. Only Cot left to come through to complete his qualifying time. But I think Grumio's got it here, truthfully, unless he gets something horribly wrong here towards the end of the lap. Charging towards the line, 1:37 on the board, 1:37.454, and that's an improvement by just under 0.3 of a second. Cot flight goes crashing through the. What the? Cot's in the Aston Martin garage. I think he may have run the barrier going towards the line. He may have run the barrier and just gone through it at the very end. But Grumio fastest then takes pole by just under 2 tenths over Che. 9 thousandths from there to Imri and P3. Dan P4. AT top 5, but a second back. And Cot, EJ, 10th cannon, HB Cook, and JB ran at the top 10. That was qualifying. We'll be back to you in a few minutes' time now for the start of the race. Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. Round 17 set to get underway. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Season 18 of the Racers Driving League here at the Baku City Circuit. And the weather has brightened up considerably here. No longer looks as dark and foreboding as it did a few minutes ago. Obviously, Grumio on pole and your run towards turn 1. Here's a look at the circuit. So obviously, 20 corners here. 3 of them non-existent towards the end of the lap, that final chicane. Grumio, the defending winner of this race, and again, as I say, will lead us to turn 1. 26 laps to get underway. Of course, the graphic, as always, designed by our very own JB, set to mimic the style of F1 broadcasting in the 2000s. In terms of Pope alongside Pope, what is the game plan for this race? And what are we thinking?
I started on the hards last season and finished on the mediums, and I'm not too sure necessarily why I did that. I looked back over the stream as I knew I was going to be commentating, and it really confused me. The hard tyres, though, are incredible all around this circuit. They are incredible generally in this game, but I think a long stint on the hards and then a short stint on either the mediums or the soft tyres will really pay advantage to those. And to those people who did save a set of soft tyres, if you can do hard to soft, you are in for an absolute goat tier of a strategy. It would be fantastic. But, you know, you're going to have to put all your strategies on the crafting table and make sure that you've got the right one to go into this race with.
That's enough now.
I was proud of that one.
It was good. Okay, but with that in mind, then let's get to the starting grid and actually get this one underway. So we'll go from back to front as we always do and look at starting tyres as well. So Alvar starts on the hard tyres, dead last there in P18. Curtis of the qualifying ban lines up in P17. Soft tyres on Alpine, the only soft tyre starter in the field. Huggy Bear makes his return alongside Ericsson, so two former drivers reserving tonight. Huggy on the hards, Ericsson on the mediums. Same case on row 7, Cotley got on the hards, Reg on the mediums. Double hards for Obsessed and Ethan. Those guys are P12 and P11. Of course, Mercedes looking for points. Ethan looking for some points as well, with a number of reserves in the field. JB lines up P10, gets himself into Q3 for the first time in a little while. HB Cook, a fantastic reserve appearance from qualifying, lines up P9. 10th Cannon P8, and it's EJ 7th, because obviously Aston Martin's fantastic resurgence there in the last few rounds. Cotton P6 as AT and P5 leading that charge. The Aston Martin 16 points to his name from the first 16 rounds. Then it's Dan in P4, Imri P3, Che in P2, and Grumio on pole. All four of them will start on the mediums.
Yeah, back to the normal formation lap, which is so much nicer, I think, compared to the quick one that you normally have, the broadcast one. I think it's what it's called in game. But yes, I think I'm gonna ask you. You normally ask me this. What are your predictions for the race, Zach? And who do you think is going to take that checkered flag first?
I mean, in a normal situation, you can't go much further than Grumio, truthfully. But this is no normal. This is no normal situation. This is Azerbaijan, for crying out loud. So we could be in for absolutely anyone winning this race here. But just to me, okay, this is one. It just looks like everyone's going off into the barriers on their formation by weaving back and forth. So I'm annoyed that this is bugging for me tonight. But I mean, it looks comedic at the very least. But in terms of prediction for the winner, I think you kind of have to go Grumio in terms of who's going to win this race. But I won't count out Che or Imri as well. Those guys in particular seem like the ones to beat. But you never know. You could see someone spring a surprise. I wouldn't say no to like a shock Aston Martin podium, for example. I just have to wait and see. But who's your prediction for the race win?
Oh, it's really tough. I think normally, like you say, you can't necessarily go past Grumio. However, I'm going to back Imri. I think the pace has been fantastic. Him and Grumio look to me like the fastest people without the toe. So as long as Imri is settled down into the race, which he's been doing a lot better at that recently, I do hope he'll be able to win. To spice things up a little bit and give him that long-deserved win. But I think my heart just tells me Grumio.
Potential stationary car on the grid in EJ. I have to keep an eye out for him. He was lagging on the formation laps. That could be a concern off the line. But here we go now. About to get it underway here. 26 laps here around Azerbaijan. The lights are coming on for round 17 of the championship. Time to bring the action here in Baku. Lights out to the floor, and we are racing here in Azerbaijan. Grumio gets away well. Chael is inside, going towards that first corner though. Ferrari and LB side by side through turn 1. Grumio gets away the lead. Then it's Che second, Imri third, down fourth, top 4 holding position on the start. Cotton P5, AT behind him. Then it's 10th, P7, EJ, then JB and Red J in the top 10 there, but a bit of contact. Someone's lost an end plate in that big kerfuffle of race cars, but it's Grumio who leads away.
Yeah, that was an incredible start there by Grumio, defending well off Che. I think a little bit of contact, but nothing too much. As Red J! Whoa, that was a close. That was the last of the late breakers there, going into turn 3, sending it up on Cook, but no one getting damaged. Great racing between those two. And yeah, I'm not too sure who's lost an end plate. I think it is Obsessed Gamer. The Obsessed Gamer, that left end plate is gone on that Mercedes. Not great news ahead of these 26 laps.
Not a fantastic start. You see Curtis making moves there. Of course, Polybam for Curtis at the inside of Cotley Goblin there takes P14 away. So early starts to be made from the other Alpine. Of course, his teammate in the Alpine 5 places clear. That's JB in P9. But Grumio here 4 tenths in front. Of course, 2 DRS zones on the circuit. The first of which comes to play at the exit of turn 2. So keep an eye out for that. It's going through onto the second lap. But it's Grumio who leads away. I think that's a bit down to an AT's car, so let's keep an eye out for that as he makes his way through. No, I'm seeing things. He's all okay, so carry on as we are. So Che, though, is keeping mighty close to Grumio here. We turn on the telemetry, see if we can get a look at his battery early on. He's in medium, and Grumio's in hot lap. But Imri has used 3/4 of his already, so he's got to manage that over the course of this Grand Prix. Plenty of work to be doing over the course of this race as Grumio continues to lead. He'll lead the first lap.
We've seen this a lot from Imri, obviously using that ERS a lot, but he's in that DRS of the top 2, so is able to probably save a bit. One person who's not is Dan. Dan dropping dramatically away over the course of this first lap and has got caught behind. Dan just not looking comfortable at all in that Ferrari. So keep an eye on that. Cott is going to try and clamber into that P4, but we're already seeing a couple gaps be made, and that's going to be crucial going in towards the end of this race.
Going into turn 3, the HP Cook defending from EJ as JB sits in front of him in P8 there, so number of places gained in turn. Oh, hey, EJ! EJ's out the race! Where is he? Not sure where he is, but he's out the Grand Prix.
He's retired on track. He's retired on track.
Will there be another
maybe
safety
down
car?
to lag. Apparently there's been some issues for lag, but yeah, no safety car, I don't think, because it's an on-track retirement. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate, obviously, if it is lag related, because it's out of your control, really, and it is a shame.
Yeah, lag problems. You're telling me, Pope. I'm sure everyone on the stream could see it too. But Grumio leads them continuously, but poor stuff for Aston Martin early on in this race. Hopefully, AT will be able to carry the flag from here on out. But the top 3 all together here: Grumio, then Che, then Imri. And those guys covered by about 6-7 tenths as of right now. And Che's got a good run here, going off the corner, going down the main straight towards turn 1 again. And DRS in play. Che's the left-hand side of the racetrack, looking for the race lead, going towards that first corner. He takes it. Che now in front, Grumio second, and Imri watching these two fight out. Che fastest lap, he leads lap 2.
Yeah, these are the 3 hardest races in RDL. They can sometimes push the limit a little bit too much, but it's going to make a very interesting watch for us and the viewers. But someone who has struggled a little bit is JB, obviously leading that huge train as we see Red J in P8. This could be the day we see the Mercedes get points. I really hope we do. As Cook, though, gets a fantastic drive. Wow, a great move there on the straight by Cook. And oh, Red J breaking late. This battle for the midfield for P8 downwards is going to be incredible.
HP trying to pull away on corner exit though. Red J there has got his mirrors full of one JB racer to make the way through turns 6 and through turns 5 and 6. And you see HP trying to pull away. Can't get that advantage just yet, but actually it's pulled about 6-7 tenths or so as it stands right now. Grumio got himself back in front, so he gets back in the lead once again. Chase second and Imri third. And Dan currently holding off Cott right now, so those guys separated about a second or so. 10th Cannon all by herself as 18th company slightly behind her. There's another 3 seconds back to that fight. As you say, Pope, that could be a very enjoyable scrap to keep an eye on over the course of this race. And of course, HP Cook can't score points, so that last points playing place goes to Curtis right now. He's fought his way up from dead last to come fighting through. Ericsson, Huggy currently P15, P17. Keep an eye on those two over the course stage to see how they get on in their returns to the league. But Grumio in control still, but I get the feeling Che might come back at him for the race lead here out of turn 20.
Yeah, no doubt. Someone who's actually really impressing me now in a somewhat lower down position is Obsessed Gamer. Obviously struggling with that damage to the left end plate. Is still doing really well and keeping up to pace. Interesting to see if it will fall off a little bit pace-wise, but is doing very well. And once again, I can only hope that the Mercedes score points today.
I mean, they put themselves in good stead to try and do so far. Obviously, Red J then P9, Obsessed in P12, 1 place off the points, given that HP Cook's still inside the top 10. Oh, crack! Contact! Oh, there was contact. I can't tell what's lagging, what's not, truthfully, but Obsessed just went through Curtis on my screen, so Curtis disconnected himself, so that could be a problem for him, and I could allow Obsessed to try and get around a bit easier here. The two Saubers go at it into turn number 3. Ericsson and Ethan side by side there. Those guys fighting for position. You see Courtney Goblin trying to challenge Ethan going through turn 4. I'm all over this shopping post. Truthfully, I may leave the session and try and reconnect to see if that makes it any better.
I can't blame you. I'm not too sure if there'll be audio of me able to try and describe a little bit.
Yeah.
A bit of audio description, but if you want to do that, by all means, I don't mind taking
Red J's out
so often as Red J. No!
Red J's out. He's crashed it in the car section. The looks of it. Where is the? Oh, there it is. There is the Mercedes at the end of the circuit. There, it must have hit the barrier going through, but the safety car is out, and that provides a perfect opportunity to try and figure things out. And
that is truly heartbreaking.
And Red J, who was doing such a good job early on in this thing, had himself inside of the top 10. Crucial error there. And that will do it for him. So, crushing retirement for Mercedes. Che in the pit lane. Grumio following him in. Imri as well. And as we see all the medium tyre runners coming in this time. Looks like Cott is joining them. So, we might see everyone in this time. Okay, I'm going to disconnect. And I need an invite back and I'll only see if this makes it any better.
Oh, good, yeah, loads of people heading into the pits. But this is where you could see a little bit of a shuffle in the grid order as we stand. I'll give a full rundown once everyone's kind of exited the pit exit. Top four remain the same.
I lost you for a second there.
Brilliant stuff. Now my thing's now not working. Sorry, I am back, everyone. Top four remain the same, all on hard tyres. I presume to go to the end on those tyres. Cop, we're going to try and make those mediums last. I'm not too sure. Someone in P6, someone who I thought would pit for front wing repairs, is Obsessed Gamer in P6, staying on those hard tyres. And everyone below to Cottony Goblin, so that's P6, P7, P8, P9, who is Ericsson, Alvar and Cottony, have all not pitted, all stayed out. AT on the new fresher mediums in P10. Huggy Bear P11 stayed out. 10th, Cook, Ethan and JB all out. Ethan on mediums, the rest are on hards. Curtis has retired, I presume due to a lag issue, and that pretty much takes us up to modern times with the grid obviously on the safety car, so a little bit of time to catch my breath, time for me to have a quick drink, and hopefully Zach gets back in the session.
Back in, yes, here we go, I'm back. And it looks like it's actually Matt actually, for a second Matt actually fixed it, I'm not sure. That looks a lot better. I could be wrong though.
We can only hope,
I think we're good.
Ooh! 10th, warming those tyres a little bit too aggressive there. Tap the barrier, don't think any damage, but as a reminder,